We're going to take a look at a couple HL7 version 2 messages today. If you've ever worked with medical data, the chances you've come across some of these HL7 messages are pretty high. And if you haven't, you probably have used systems maybe as a customer that rely on this every day, even without knowing. So this is an example of one of these HL7 messages. This is a healthcare messaging standard that's been around a long time, since the 80s, and it's still very popular in the healthcare sector, in hospitals, labs, EMRs, radiology, pharmaceuticals, all kinds of things to exchange clinical information. So it could be lab results, orders, appointments, patient admissions, all sorts of stuff. Now, each of these messages is structured kind of like an email between systems. So there's a message type up here, this here, that tells us kind of what kind of information the message will contain. So ADT pertains to admissions. We'll see a couple other examples in a moment, an ORM for orders and an ORU for lab results. It also has a trigger event, which kind of tells you, why this message is being sent in the first place. So this A08 message here means the patient had a demographic update to their information. Now, in the message itself, you have these segments like this MSH segment, this PID segment down here, and so forth. And these give us different kinds of information. So the MSH is kind of where the message came from, when it was sent, what kind of message is it. This PID segment down here, this is patient demographics. So we have a patient's name and where they live and their phone number, maybe their social security number if you're in the States, that sort of thing. This tool we're using here, this HL7 Message Parser, I'll put a link to this in the comments of the video, but it's a pretty cool way to plug a message in. And then when I click Create here, it's going to kind of parse this message into some kind of data blocks that help us understand it a little better, especially if you're not accustomed to working with these sorts of messages. And it says, kind of the information from the segments restated with labels, essentially, right? Now, there's other kinds of messages we could look at too. Besides this, I have an example of an order message we could take a look at real quickly. Now notice this message, we have this ORM message, meaning it's an order. In this message, there's information about what the order is. So we have this ORC segment with an accession number. It's talking about a lab order. And then we have OBR segments for each of the information for those particular orders. And again, this website has a cool way of kind of breaking this out. It tells me that it has a CBC panel in here and a comprehensive metabolic panel. So this is a blood work order. And each of those OBR segments up here pertains to those types of orders. Let's look at one more message real quick. We're going to look at an ORU message. So this ORU message is a type of report, right? In this particular example, it looks like it's returning lab results to us. This is not necessarily connected to the last order. These are kind of all independent messages. But I'm receiving back for each order information about the order. So we have the order itself. We have a note about the order. So it talks about some issues that the patient is having here. And then it has the order itself, right? And then it goes on to, so for this, we have notes about the observation, notes about the order, kind of a lot of complexity here. So each of these NTEs pertains to the segment preceding it. So it's working its way backwards. So this note pertains to this observation. This is some of the stuff that can make these messages a little bit tricky to deal with. Now, the challenge with HL7 version 2 is it's kind of flexible, and each of these systems will implement it a little bit differently. The data structure will be a bit different, and getting two systems to speak HL7 is the same way anyway, is a little more complicated than it might appear on the surface. And so here at Healthcare Integrations, this is the kind of data we deal with every day. So if you're trying to get information from an EMR maybe, and it wants to send that data out to HL7 version 2 and you're not accustomed to dealing with that, we have the technology and tools to take that data and make it look like whatever you want. So if you want to take that message and convert it into JSON or send it to a custom API, something like that, we can do that. Or we could do the reverse, right? Maybe your application's outputting some kind of JSON message or delimited text or whatever it might be. We can convert that into one of these HL7 version 2 messages and conform to whatever spec the people you want to work with, whatever spec they're expecting, and we can make the message look that way. If you're interested in talking more about any of these data types or seeing what we can do, give us a call or check out our website, healthcareintegrations.com.